Was it something? Thank you. Well, excellent. Thanks, Mike. I just want to add that our hearts as a police department go out to all the victims of crime, but the victims that we know about, we want to thank you for your courage, for standing forward. And for the Mr. Dominguez's of the world, we want to thank you for your courage to take your story and share it and help us create a better world for everybody. But the most important segment of society that we want to reach today are those that don't believe they'll get a fair shake from this police department. Those that will believe that we will not believe them, that we will not take their allegations seriously. We urge you, if you're a victim of a crime, regardless of your sexual orientation, your gender identification, your religion, your race, your ethnicity, please come forward. This police department will stand with you. Our victim services unit will walk you through the process every step of the way, and we will protect you. Last year, in 2015, the city of Austin experienced 14 hate crimes, 14 crimes that were perpetrated where the motivation was hate. That's 14 people that were targeted because in the eyes of somebody else they were different. It was anti-gay male, anti-Muslim, anti-black, anti-transgender, and anti-different religion besides the Muslim community, and it even included anti-white, because racist and hate permeates the entire human culture, the human race. It's not just white people that might have hate. It's not just straight people, and like Mr. Dominguez said, even people that may be the same will perpetrate crimes on one another. And so with that, again, we thank you for being here, and now I'd like to invite one of our great partners, Gloria, to come on up here and say a few words.
My name is Gloria Terry. I have the privilege of serving as the CEO for the Texas Council on Family Violence. And I'm not here speaking to you as an advocate purely on the aspect of family violence, although that is very dear and near to me, to my heart. I'm here as an advocate for all victims of crime. And the recognition when we talk about unreported crimes, I know, leaning on the family violence statistics, that over 200,000 calls were made to law enforcement because home was not safe. But if we just pause for a second and think about all the calls that go unreported, we know that that is just that representation of 200,000 calls statewide is a mere fraction of the actual incidents. And when we think about, if we look further examine who is not calling and reaching out for help, and it's going to be individuals who are faced with a tremendous amount of complexities to already complex cases. The fear of reporting, the fear of not being believed, the fear that the systems are not adequately equipped and responsive to my particular needs of my victimization. And when I think of that, I think that there is no other community that is more representative of the LGBT community in that aspect. So it is Crime Victims' Rights Week. And what does that mean? It is a time that nationally we pause and we say to people like Michael, you have rights in our state, you have rights in our country, and you have a whole host of people and services and systems around you that are gonna help elevate those rights. And at the same time, this week, we should look at those people who deliberately, strategically, and effectively are tearing at the very fabric of our society. When I think about, Michael, your remarks and the injuries and the hatred that you sustained, the 3 trans women that were killed and the one most recently in Houston, that tells us as a society, as a system, we need to confront those individuals who are deliberately tearing at the fabric of our community. I join the people before me who commended Chief Acevedo and your department. So I have this unique perch. I get to be able to see law enforcement systems across the state through my lens and my work. And I will say that there's oftentimes that Austin PD is really elevating and is responsive and is setting the bar. And I may work statewide, but home is Austin. And I feel safe here, I feel good here, and I feel that the leadership here is really responsive and advancing of the rights of all victims. So thank thank you, Chief, and thank you to the department. Michael, thank you for sharing your story.
Okay, and with that, we'll open it up to questions for any of us.
Chief, can you talk a little bit about, I know Loretta's case is still pending, and is it considered a hate crime in addition to it being a murder, or is it a hate crime fueled murder? How would you?
No, I would say that case, based on the evidence that we have, the information that's known to us, that it is not a hate crime. That she was not targeted because of her gender identification.
Okay.
So that we don't believe that played a role in that specific case.
Okay. When, even with that, Austin is still holding the place as the home to the first transgender murder of 2016, and I know that's kind of weighed pretty heavy on you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, anytime we lose a life, I mean, this year, think about this, I think we're at 4 homicides.
Yes, sir.
4 homicides for a city of 1 million. 1 million people almost here in Austin, in a region of 2 million, they only have 4 homicides. We're very blessed to live here. Yet, it's not just about whether somebody dies or not. If we create a culture in a city where a community, whether it's based on immigration status, which right now, I didn't mention that, but I'm always talking in Spanish with the sanctuary city and the immigration debate, and just the ugliness of the debates on all these issues, including the rights of the LGBTQ community. It's a very heated, passionate, and in too many cases, I think an inappropriate tone to it. It's a hateful tone. We have to always push back as a police department, understanding that if we don't represent every segment of society, if every person that lives, works, and visits Austin, Texas, if we don't create an environment where every one of those persons feels safe in reporting crime, that is to the detriment of everyone in this community. That's why we're constantly reaching out to every segment of society, including our LGBTQ community. I'll never forget when we had a young woman murdered, and I think this shortly after the 3 young men leaving the bar there, it was rain or, you remember the 3 men, the baseball players, what bar were they leaving? It's been a few years.
It was rain, too.
It was rain, correct? And then we had a young woman whose father, she was a young lesbian living at home in the safety of her own home. I'll never forget when her partner was murdered by her own father. And what we did as a police department, this police chief, this department marched with our community because there is no room for hate. There just cannot be. And I will just say this last thing, and then I'll open the other questions to anybody, is this. We're supposed to be a community of faith, a nation of faith. And I'll say it, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We are commanded by every, I think about every version of God to love your neighbors. To love your neighbor as you love yourself. It doesn't say to love your straight neighbor. It doesn't say to love your Christian neighbor. It doesn't say you don't have to love your Muslim neighbor. It says love your neighbor. And when I get some of the pushback, because we stand with diverse communities, there's a lot of room for improvement in society. And I just challenge people as we celebrate Victims' Rights Week here in Texas, that we all need to take stock of our own hearts, look in the mirror, and ask ourselves, am I promoting love and tolerance, or am I acting in a way that promotes hate and intolerance? That's a fair assessment and a fair question that I challenge everybody this week to look deep in their hearts and ask themselves that. Anything else?
I got a question for the gentleman back there. You spoke of the training that's going to be taking place. Hang on, let me frame you up here. How long is the training going to last? This is a 3-part question. How long is the training going to last? Who is it going to be geared for? Is it patrol? Is it anybody, any cop that's on the street? And also, what did you select as the criteria to put into the training? Like, what did you base the criteria on to kind of guide you through the training?
Thank you. So to answer your first question in regards to who the training is going to be geared towards, it's going to be geared towards cadets right now. and it's going to happen when we teach domestic violence to cadets. That's a week-long training that's done. When we teach all cadets about intimate partner violence across the board, both in the heterosexual community as well as in the LGBTQ community. And during that week-long training, we'll be doing a block of instruction specifically geared towards some of the unique barriers and challenges that are faced by the LGBT community. As far as the criteria that went into putting this together, my years of experience as a detective, doing the research, looking at the information that we've gotten from the CDC, from the National Coalition Against Anti-Violence Programs, from the Williams Institute out of UCLA. There's been a variety of different studies that have been done that show that intimate partner violence is statistically as much, if not in some instances a higher rate than it is in the heterosexual community. Yet we don't show that in the reports that are taken. And part of that is because I believe the LGBT community does not feel confident enough in coming forward and being able to report, because there's some very unique challenges. Once you report to law enforcement, you're now outing yourself. Heterosexuals don't have to do that. But when you're LGBT, you're now in an official document and you've outed yourself. And some people just aren't ready to make that move. There's some other unique challenges in regards to same-sex intimate partner violence that's quite different from what it is in regards to heterosexual intimate partner violence. So those are the issues that we're going to be focusing on, so that our cadets are hitting the streets with the best possible knowledge that they have, so that they can stay true to the vision statement of what the Austin Police Department is, which is to be respected and trusted by every segment of our diverse community. So that's where it's going to be coming from.
So is the training going to just be encompassed into a cadet class?
It is right now. I mean, we're just rolling this out. Obviously, this takes time. We're a department of, close to 1,800 officers plus. It takes a while to train everybody. But we're starting this right now at the cadet class.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.